Hello, I'm Wayne Berry. Our farm slash ranch is just west of Fairview, Montana, about 11 miles from the North Dakota line. 1907 homestead. My mother's father, who was born in Scotland. I kind of come to figure out if you eliminate a cost, you don't need to worry about the price going up. And I'm not a cowboy, but I can sort cattle that are broke to people on foot pretty well. And so that's kind of where I guess that's where I'm at. It was a mixed farm with cattle, and now the farm is, it's all forage, all grass, and it's a grazing operation. I guess my journey with holistic management started in the around 1980, at a point in time when some of the SCS employees were receiving some training, or at least overview on holistic management. People have often kind of identified that I'm probably like a college-trained range major, which I'm not. I'm an ag economist. But when I was a kid in 4-H in Montana, I was in the 4 years in the 4-H range project, and lo and behold, we basically did the field work and some of the lessons for College Range Management 101. And one day, they called me up and invited me to Circle, Montana, and Roland Cruz, who worked for Alan Savory, spent all day going through the model. It was a decision-making tool in the things, but what really, really put a stamp on me, there was a group of people there that were from around Circle that had sponsored this, and they were a management club. And so when the meeting was done, and I knew two of them before, and they said, why don't you come to our management club meeting and we're going to have a potluck? Well, I said, I don't have any pot. They said, just come, you won't eat much. So we ate and sat around, and they started talking and about each other's problem solving with some grazing things, and then they were doing financial planning with each other. And I finally told them, I said, I really need to leave. I said, you're talking about personal finances, it's none of my business, and I don't know that I should know. They said, there's no problem, we trust you and we trust each other. And so the people part of it all of a sudden kind of made an impression on me. And in 1989, January, I was fortunate to attend the Holistic Resource Management in Practice course in Bozeman, Montana. And it was the first time that Savory had taught the course, to my knowledge, and he brought in all of his staff. Roland Cruz was there, Nassim Raka, 3 or 4 other people. So it was kind of the big premiere, so to speak. And to make things work, a perfect learning experience, Bozeman, Montana hit a tremendous cold spell. It'd warm up to 5 below at the daytime and 35 below at night. Nobody's diesel pickup would start. No one could leave the motel. So we were stuck there for 5.5 days. And when class was over, there was a little group of us. Most of them were from Ellensburg, Washington. I don't know why they adopted me, because they figured I knew how to read. And so we'd sit in the bar and either drink tea or soda, and we would read portions of the holistic management textbook. And so by the time the week was done, I had read it 2 or 3 times and had discussed it with these fellows. Some of the biology I hadn't, but that's where I got started. I had been doing a little bit of I guess, rotation, not knowing what I was doing on the farm, but that's where I really got started. I guess the important thing that I found with the holistic management model, again, I was talking about the card, and is that it was a way to make decisions. We were doing a lot of copying, and I was also teaching farm business management at the community college in Williston. And so as I met farmers and business people, it seemed we were making decisions on farms and ranches kind of based on probably who was the most effective salesperson. But I liked the thing that really intrigued me in that first presentation was that the importance to me was that you established a goal. And the goal started out with the quality of life for you and your family and the people in your team. And so when I saw this decision model, it was like, okay, now here's a logical way for me to make a decision. And I didn't understand at that time how all the parts fit together in the whole of a farm and a ranch, all the biology and everything that's involved. We were kind of in that mechanical process. If I do this, this is the result. And all of those things come together, and I could see the importance of the goal and then a way to make decisions to move us towards our goal. And if it's not going towards our goal, we better reevaluate. And not too long after I had gone through the course, the training with Savory and his team, I was actually personal journaling, and I'm sitting, and I'd been hearing people say at the sales barn, you just can't afford to keep a heifer when she's worth this much. And I had caught myself saying that one day. And I thought, gosh, now I'm talking like the masses. So I'm journaling away, and I finally wrote that down. And, what does this mean? And it was like magic. My hand wanted to say, we spend all our money farming, having fun, and the cow has to pay for it. And I kind of had a realization is that, there might be something to this. And I had done, this is before real computers, so I had done a lot of farm budgets at tables with people, and it scares you when you see that many. So yourself, you get a little gun shy. And I started calculating on it, and I said, okay, I've farmed for X number of years, so if this year in the future, can I have a comparable line of machinery with the same equity? I said, I think I could. Do I want to? And excuse my French, I wrote down, hell no. I figured it out, in all honesty, that if I'd work 3 days and 2 nights, kind of sleep in the tractor, I'd get something done. And when I got back home to Williston, there's an old joke, put your border collie and your wife, lock them in the trunk of the car, and then open it up in a day or two and see who's happy to see you. My wife wasn't happy to see me. So I decided maybe I should go 3 days and 4 nights, and she'd be happy to see me. That didn't improve the situation. So I had an auction in my notebook that night, and I listed what the thing would sell for at auction, what it was probably worth on a dealer's lot, and what it'd be worth if you advertised it in the news. Whoa, had an auction, and I was crushed. The auctioneer said that we brought more money than we expected, but my big tractor, they stole it from me. I went home that night and I had to have some oatmeal. And I got my journal out, and you know what? A crazy guy that bought my big tractor paid $250 too much because the number I had picked was $250 under what he paid, but caught up in the money. So I started thinking that's monitoring. I'd put a plan together, and the part that made it possible is I had a neighbor who's a Cracker Jack farmer who put all of his land in CRP, and he had a little bit left to farm. He had a wonderful line of equipment, and he was college trained in agronomy and crops, and so he thought he'd have to get a job, and he didn't want to work for anybody else. So I asked him if he would be our custom farmer, but you're going to work yourself out of a job because every year we're going to seed more to grass, and he said that was just perfect. He told me later it saved his farm, improved his quality of life because he knew what his income was as compared to crop insurance and cropping with the drought. The things that I guess I primarily was concerned with was soil surface condition, keeping the soil covered so that we don't get the soil too hot to have new seedlings and then intercept the raindrop, hold the water, and regrowth of grass. And so that's as your goal evolves over time. And so to manage the grazing, we managed time. And to manage time, we needed, it's so simple. You just see really big herds. And, the buffalo were right. Eat the best, trample the rest, and come back next year. But it's a little hard to mimic the buffalo. And so we need large herds of cattle. And then to move them daily, you need large water tanks. And so you get practicality in it. We put together some like four-wheel utility trailers for water tankers, and we've got those movable with a water tank and a trough on them. We can add capacity at our water points, and we've developed, I think, 13 water points. And so the goal is low stress, no stress for everybody, the people, the livestock, the grass. I think for, the things that have happened as we've had exposure to other people is the things we're doing is taking holistic decision making, applying it on the land, and it impacted my teaching because I was, I didn't teach that this is what I'm doing, you should do, but I say here's what I've observed. I've seen this, and the science says this, and and again, that talking to people, I've talked to lots of ag professionals, and once, and I read, I'm an addictive reader, so they figure out I've read some of the stuff even if I don't understand it, so we get to have a communications. And last spring, I was in the grocery store, and I kind of thought I recognized this young man, and he and his wife was shopping groceries, and he was on his cell phone. For long, he came over and introduced himself, and of course, your students change over time. We never change, but they change, and he now has 2 sons that are farming with him, and he said he wanted to thank me for what I helped him do, is that, I told him, we're talking about some new things here, so you go home and tell your dad's going to know I'm crazy, and I said, your dad is right. I said, I've never even been on your farm, and maybe if you didn't give me good directions, I couldn't find it. And your dad was probably there with his grandfather, and the farm is still in your family name. So don't learn some new fandangled thing and you're going to change the whole world, but kind of talk about it and observe some things. As I think of things that we've done with our farm, one thing is that we seeded grass, yes. We built fence, yes. But there's a whole lot of things that come about in the journey. And as we look at things with stress on people and on animals, trying to reduce stress, looking at things to remove risk, taking in account profitability, and he had put a lot of work into this type of thing to make ranches successful. And so, we started kind of paying attention to that. And we moved to the 17th of May. Now, an unintended consequence is that before, when we were turning bulls out to breed so we would calve the last week in April, I started noticing that the bulls would quit. You would see bulls standing by the water tank. They're exhausted. They've just had way more females than they can handle, and they're not fighting anymore. They're telling the other bull, you go do it. I can't do it anymore. And so they'd take some time off. Nobody's breeding, and you'd get a break. Hot nights. Typically, the nights don't cool off then. I found when we move just a little bit later, the nights cool off enough, those bulls regenerate, and then all yearling bulls, they don't mind a little heat. They're like teenagers, I guess. Well, our goal is to leave it better. Leave the farm better than we found it. And not to be a wise guy, but I got to where I'd ask people, what do you mean? They'd say, you know what I mean. Yes, I do, but I want you to tell me what you mean. They said, well, just leave it better. And so does that mean a bigger barn, better fences? That's important. But if you've got a landscape description that you want to have, a biologically rich soil, you want to have a diversity of plants, you want to have effective water cycle, all of these things that we can improve on. And again, this kind of got me excited about holistic management because now I can describe what I want this farm to look like, other than the barn and, the fences and that kind of thing. And, we've got awfully good fences. They're built by Hermanson Company. Every once in a while we get an opportunity to hear about new things, to learn about new things, and we get busier all the time. There's no doubt about that. Life just goes faster and we're busy. If I'm not much on giving advice, but I would call this, at least consider this, and it's the closest thing I'll ever get to giving someone advice, is that I would advise you to invest in yourself. And the most valuable thing on your farm or ranch is you and your family. You're the people that make it happen. You're the management. Yes, you're the labor, but your management decisions, that's what's got the impact on making everything work. And how do we do that? I would encourage you, that's like a recommendation, that you really consider taking a course on holistic management. And take your team with you if you can. Husband and wives go together. And I've even seen workshops where sometimes the children come. And it's a new way of looking at decision making. And it's after your first introduction to it. I had someone tell me once that they'd heard me speaking and it didn't make a lot of sense. And then later, they said they figured out that I kind of knew what I was talking about because they had heard more about it. And so then holistic management started making some sense to them. And we hear about a lot of things. There's people. Everybody in the world is trying to sell you an idea or a product. I mean, that's the way the world is. And whether it's a new piece of technology or it's a new idea, and I always say, have a plan of your own, or you become part of someone else's plan. And you do have a plan of your own, but by investing some time in a holistic management course, you'll come away with the ability to do at least a temporary goal. That this is me, and your goal and my goal are totally different, and as they should be. It's you and your land. Some of you are farming heritage farms that, when you're walking the fence line, your ancestors walked the same fence line. I'm not putting a big responsibility on you, but it's one of the things that, you're there for a reason. Your family's walked on that land and understands it. So then have your plan and before you become part of someone else's plan. Because all of us, whether we're giving away information or we're selling a piece of machinery or we're selling a farm input, that's our business. Your business is to fit all the pieces together and to get where you want to be. And, it's not easy, but it's doable. That network is what's going to make it work. Because if you say something new to a person and they don't know what you're talking about, the first thought is no. Because that's how we've survived through that. If someone says to you, it's really fun if we stand on the railroad track, and then just jump off when the train comes. You say, I don't jump very fast, I don't want to do that. Oh, yes, you do. Well, I'm not going to do it because I might get run over. So you come up with a new idea and automatically, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going, and we've seen that, your whole life with, we can go on forever. No-till, I can remember people saying that it's impossible, you just can't do it because that's not how we do things. Well, but why are we wanting to try and reduce tillage? So, fit the model, get some friends, and talk to each other.